YouTube, I'll send the links. Okay. Let me switch over my screen. So this is how we're gonna learn how to size wire and breakers, that good stuff. Okay. So I'm just gonna move down here. So this is where we left off. Okay, and I asked you to, I think we left off right here, where we were going to size some cable. Okay.
We did.
Did I do that?
The only thing we haven't done is 6.
Oh.
The 6th pull.
We're so close to being done. Wonderful. You're right, because I read that and I thought, didn't we? You're right. Okay. So we're going to select the combiner box. And then we need to select the breakers. So we did the wiring. Now we need to get into the combiner box, etc. So what we need to do is we have how many runs do we have in parallel in this? Do you remember?
2 sets of 3.
2 sets of 3. Okay. So 2 sets of 3. So this is how this works. These come off, the leads come off into a combiner box like that. And then from that combiner box, one run, which is a positive and negative wire, comes out of the combiner box, which then goes to your charge controller, etc. So within this, you have 2 breakers. Okay. So you need a breaker for each run. So if you had 3 runs in parallel, you'd have 3 breakers. So we have 2, so we need 2 breakers. These breakers need to be DC because this is DC power. All right. So if you were to put a breaker, over here after your inverter, over here, these breakers would need to be AC breakers, and there is a difference between AC and DC breakers, so you can't use one for the other. Okay, so now
The combiner box combines the 2 runs.
Yes, they do. Yes, it does. All right, so what you need to do is let's go to Google. And we're just going to go to midnight solar. Oops, we spelled midnight like that. Solar. And we're going to go ahead and look for combiner boxes. So if we go to products, we can go down to combiners. Let's do the disconnecting combiner right there.
What's the difference?
So this one has a manual disconnect that you can pull to actually separate. You could do the regular one. Maybe we should take a look at these and see what they've got. This one's probably going to be cheaper, so let's do regular one. Combiners. So the smallest one is the MNPV3. So midnight, MN, for photovoltaics, PV, and then the 3 indicates how many spaces there are available for breakers. So if we have 2 runs, is this going to work for us?
Yeah.
Yes. And you probably won't find a smaller one.
So
Small breaker boxes. Let's go down here. What were you going to say, Dylan?
midnight EV stands for photovoltaic.
Yeah. Midnight photovoltaics. Small breaker boxes. Baby box. PV disconnect, DC or AC. How many places does this have? Yeah, let's stick with what I'm familiar with the other one. So let's just stick with the other one. So this one, okay. So the question is asking, select a model of combiner box. We just did that. Okay, so the answer for that one would be this model, MNPV3.
So there's nothing to really like check besides that it holds 3 breakers.
The only other thing you would want to check, which you should be fine, is the holes for the incoming wire and the outgoing wire, if they are large enough for your conductors, which they should be. What it typically says is, if you go into, let's see, include 6 positions, da, 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 da. Let's go into documents. Oops, I don't know what I just clicked on. Dimensions, PV03, specifications. Okay, MMPV3, that's this column, and it says output wire range 14 to 1/aught. That should be fine. 1/aught's pretty big. You won't probably have that. Only thing bigger would be like 2/aught, 4/aught, which you won't be using. And then the incoming is solar wire, which it should definitely be able to fit. So we're good with that. So that's pretty much it. So that's how you would check that. And then, where am I going? Going back here. All right, and so then it says, show how it would be wired. Well, that's tricky, but not really, because you can go to I believe it's in the manual, and you can go down here, scroll down, and it should give you a wiring diagram, so you don't even have to be too creative. You could just use this one right here, MNPV with circuit breakers. Yes, it has 3 here, but that's okay. It still gives you the idea of how you would wire it. So you could just use this picture. I'm not going to make you draw it.
How did you get to the spec sheet again?
You would go to the downloads, and it should say, this is the manual. So if I make this a little bit bigger, you can see that the PV positive wire comes in, connects here, goes through the breaker, and then you connect the negative to this negative terminal. Okay, so this is the output, and then these are your 3 breakers. And then this is your ground. Okay, so that's the answer to that one. And then it's asking what breakers are appropriate for this model. So you can go back to, well, first we need to do a little calculation. So we have one run per fuse, or sorry, breaker. So can someone go into your solar panel specs and find the current, the short circuit current for the solar panel? Sorry? Oh, this was me just saying if you were after the inverter, you'd need AC breakers.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all. So ISC for your solar panel.
The ISC at the worst condition. 10.804. That's with the calculations.
10.804. Okay. 10. That's with or with. Wait, sorry. With or without the temperature calculations.
With the temperature.
Okay, that's good. Okay, 10 point what? 804.
804.
804. Okay, amps. So this is the worst case, meaning highest. Yeah, highest current. Okay, worst case, highest current. Now, if we were looking at the current here, okay, that would be, we'd have to multiply this by 2 because adding in parallel means we're going to increase the current, right? But good thing is that we have one breaker per run. So we have just 10.804 that we're going to use for sizing our breakers, our DC breakers. So what we'll need to do is typically breakers are rated for 125% of the worst case current, and that's a National Electric Code regulation. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this 0.804 amps and we'll multiply it by that 1.25, which is a safety factor. Okay, and oops. What do I get if I do that? Can someone do that math for me?
13.505.
13.505. Okay. So let's go ahead and go to our, that's not it. Back to Midnight Solar. Let's take a look at breakers. So if we go over to breakers. Oh, does it have that option? Okay, I'm gonna go to breakers here. So we go all the way down here to MNE, these guys, PV. They have options. We don't want that big of a pack. Just kidding. We want to buy just 2. MMPV. Where are my different ones? I don't want a 12 pack. I just want 1. This one maybe. No, that's too big. Well, MNE.
Just go with the breakers instead of like the option for that breaker box. There's no options. You find someone there.
Okay. Oh, I was gonna look at this one. No. I don't want that many. Where'd you go?
Just on the left hand side under breakers.
Mm-hmm.
And then just scroll down to the one you want. They haven't been listed by prices.
Where?
There's the 5 to 25 and $118 case.
These guys. That's DC, so we don't want that. But you probably chose the one that's DC. MNE. definitely don't want to choose this one. Okay, we'll do this one. All right. So this is a DC breaker. So MNE DC, probably the 15 amp one, $22. Yep. So you need 2 of those, right? One for each string. Well, we can go check MNEDC. Let's check our breaker box spec sheet. Well, it doesn't really tell me as far as I can see. Let's see if we can find it somewhere else. Circuit. See, I was looking for this one right here. MNEPV. I'm gonna search for that one because I know that one works with this box.
There's an MNPV 2050.
MNPV 15, but I don't want a 12 pack.
More expensive than the ones we are right now.
$200.
Just for one. 38 instead of 22. But we know this will work with our.
Unless we can confirm the other one works with it.
The breaker box is just a sheet metal box.
Caption at the bottom of the MNEPV 1 through 63 amps that says sold individually for 18 each or by the case of 12 for 200.
Okay, that's what we want. There we go. They've changed that since I've looked at this since last semester because they didn't have the 12 pack option. So, all right, so $18 for the MNEPV 15.
Nice spot.
Nice spot is right. Okay.
It's 18 and in the 12 pack section, if you read the description, it says it's only for 132.
Okay. So that's the end of your classwork now. Couple things. I posted a financial video that I made that's I think I sent out, or I can send out. It's on YouTube. And that should include all of the information for the financial part of it. So I would watch that. And then I'm going to give you guys the rest of this class to start working on your project. Okay? So that means read it. And I can point you in the right direction. I guess maybe I should go through, I've done this for some people who've come into my off hours already, but I can kind of give you a direction for you to move in for each project. How about that? So, see, let's do undergrad first. So, get out a notebook, a different one, same one, whatever. And what you should do first, so ME 433 project. Okay, so what you need to do first for your project, you need to choose what solar panels you're going to use. Okay? Choose a solar panel. Okay? Choose your solar panel. Look at dimensions. Okay? Because the second thing you need to do is figure out how many panels will fit on that roof. Okay? Now, if you get a weird number, like 17, that may or may not work. Now, what is the situation that it would not work? Yeah.
You can't make the curve voltage equal or within run.
Can't divide it up, right, into two
You could have
runs.
like one run of 17, that's going to be expensive.
Well, you could have one run of 17, but most likely your inverter won't be able to handle that many in series.
Yeah.
It'll go above the maximum input voltage. So what you need to do, so here's a hint, okay? In the project, it says the owners want to be able, if possible, to see the output of each panel. So what does that suggest? Microinverters. So would 17 panels work for microinverters? Yes. They work fine because microinverters are all in parallel. So you don't have to deal with putting multiple in strings because you have one inverter per panel. Yeah, Bo? Yes. Entire panel needs to fit on the surface of the roof, and I would leave some space in between, like an inch or two in between. So take that into account as well. Okay, good question. No overhangs allowed. Okay. So you probably want to do microinverters first. Now, here's another question. Not question, statement. Microinverters may be more expensive. You're working within a budget. If your microinverter system goes above your budget, then you may want to switch to string inverters and write in your report, we suggest the customer opts for string inverters to keep them below budget. And that's fine. So just a note, if that is the case. All right, so after you figure out how many panels will fit on there, you're going to go with microinverters. I would then check let's say choose microinverter. And that means make sure it works with your solar panel. So typically it'll give a wattage range that it'll be okay with. It will also say that it will accommodate, I believe there's like a 72 cell panel and a 50 something cell panel. One of them is going to be a higher watt, higher capacity. Some microinverters are not large enough to be able to work with the 72 cell panel. And it'll say that. So you need to make sure that if you're using a 72 or a larger panel, that it's going to work with your microinverter. So you need to take those specs and look at them. Okay, so works with number of cells. Okay. Then you need to make sure, so for check system advisory model to make sure your your modules work. No, modules and, losing my train of thought. Checksum to make sure modules and microinverter, are in Sam's library. Because it would really be unfortunate for you to do all this design work and then realize that it's not in the library, Sam's library. So do that and figure out where they are. Okay. And then you will probably need to get, let's see. You need an AC disconnect. 5. So AC disco box. Okay. And then do a little research to see if you need anything else for this. But really what you're looking at, like in that picture, you have a house. Okay, panels. Pretty bad panels.
No, just one of them.
Almost rectangular panels. Those runs are going to come off. You're going to need to figure out if you need more solar wire, right? Because they come with leads, but it may not be enough to get all the way over here. Solar wire. Then it's going to go down to a disconnect. So AC disco. Then it's going to go to your, let's see, how does this work? AC, and then it goes to the panel. And then you need a meter, but you just need to deal with this, okay? So what you need to do is you need to design one system for Olympia, and then that you're going to take this same system, you're going to implement it into Indiana. So you need to figure out what the tilt is of the roof, because that will be your tilt in SAM. And then you will also need to calculate, you need to find racking. That's it, 6. Racking. Where do you find racking? Racking, you can go to Iron Ridge website. If you go to Iron Ridge, that will let you design racking based on, you just put in what type of panel you have, how many what the roof, it'll give you a breakdown of costs. So it's easy. So this is the website you use. You go to see my projects. Might have to log in. Yeah. May not be the right one. That is not the right one.
You could use your email for this.
No. I try though. Okay. So let's see. You can I'll start a new project. Pitched roof. where you're going to put it. So we'll do 98503 Lacey. Use this location. Okay. And then you can leave all this stuff when blah, 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 panel. So you can look, they have all of the different, various panels, LG, and the different ones they have. So they have a lot of different panels. And it will basically, so let me choose one. LG, I don't know, that one. Okay. Panel finish is that.
ASCE code? What is the ASCE code? Right,
That's civil engineering, so we don't have to worry about that.
And same thing, we're expecting 110 miles per hour.
That's the rated wind, but
Okay.
looks like it's the lowest option too, so that's as low as it's gonna go.
Don't get hit by like the space version.
You can leave this stuff, but you'll have to put in you can make up a building height, I don't care. Roof slope though, we know that. It's from the spec. And then do you want it in portrait or do you want yours in landscape? You can choose based on how you figured out how they fit on your roof. Okay. I don't want to do that. All right, so I just said that I just had 56 modules here, which is a lot. I just highlighted these. And then bill of materials is going to be a ton of money. So this is going to be a $4,200. Is that close? And then you can download the breakdown, etc. I'm not too worried about you knowing every single thing about this program. It's just the fact that you need to buy racking and do your best at trying to get some that'll work. Okay? So it needs to be in your costs, your installed cost. All right, so let's go back. So you need to choose some racking. And then that's for the most part. Oh, and then you need to check your shading profile. Don't forget that. So you need to look at your shading. Let's open up SAM here really quick. No. Why? Just. Oh. Is it? Okay, because I was like, I don't know. No, so I don't know who's been on my computer. All right, so I'll just go ahead and start a new project for now. Yeah, okay. I know I didn't click the right thing. All right, so in SAM, you're going to enter the stuff that I just went through. So location, of course, the module type, the inverter, system design, meaning how many are in series and parallel. Shading and layout, that is where you need to look at your shading from your picture that's included, which is the Solar Pathfinder. Okay, and then you need to go to subarray 1, edit shading. And you need to choose enable month by hour beam irradiance. You get in here, look at all these zeros. Okay, what you need to do is, in January at 12 a.m., think there's any light?
Yes, no.
No, it's midnight. So no. So that means it's going to be 100% shaded, 100, and it turns red. You have to do every single box based on the Solar Pathfinder photo. Okay. So you can do, let's say some time is half shaded, you can do 50 for half shaded. Yeah, wasn't a great choice, but you know. Oops. Okay, so you're gonna have to go through and do that. So you're gonna have to fill this out. All right, losses. You're gonna have to figure out, you're gonna include what your target loss is for your AC wiring. And you need to make sure that you have the correct wiring included. You can leave this. Battery storage, don't have batteries. System cost. This here, I explained this in the video of how you enter costs into this. Okay? But really, it's not too bad. Module, inverter, you want to do just dollars per unit instead of dollars per watt. Balance of system components is any item, any component such as racking or wires or not combiner boxes for this, but disconnect boxes. That is, those things fall under balance of equipment. Anything that's not an inverter and that's not a module is a balance of system piece of equipment. Installation labor, you're going to want to assume some installation labor. I don't care what you assume. Overhead, you can assume some overhead. I don't care what you assume. Permitting, there is, and I go over this in the video, but you probably will have to get an electrical permit, so there's a cost to that, and I talk about that in a video, and you can include it in that portion. Don't worry about engineering and developer overhead. Grid connection, that is where the power company comes out to your house and they take the meter that your one-way meter out and they put in a two-way meter so that they are able to monitor how much you pull out of the grid and how much you inject into the grid. So that costs about $400. What else? Land purchase, don't worry about it. Land prep transmission, don't worry about it. Sales tax is not 5%. There's a place we can change that, I believe, maybe in financial parameters, but well, I'm not sure. In Oregon, there is no sales tax, so that'd go to 0. But oh no, you're doing it for Olympia. Yeah, so that'd be like 8%. Okay. You're doing a standard loan, so you'd want to click that. You're borrowing it all, so your debt fraction is 100%. You're borrowing everything. Your loan, I believe it said it was I can't remember if it's 30 or 25, but it says it in your sheet, and it says 8%. You can leave the discount rate the way it is, and the inflation rate, and everything else. Let's see. Here's where you change your sales tax. You can leave your income tax where it is. State income tax Oregon does have a state income tax, but you may need to look up what that is. We don't. Oh, we're not doing it in Oregon. We don't have a state income tax, so put that to 0 if you're in Washington.
But Indiana does.
Indiana does. We don't have a state income tax. There's a federal income tax, but in Washington, we don't have a state income tax. Yeah. Then incentives. I talk about this in the video. Incentives, this is kind of the point of your grid tied project, because we don't really have, still wearing my shirts. We don't really have incentives like we used to. Incentives meaning you get paid per kilowatt hour you produce, regardless of if you use it or not. That's called a feed-in tariff. So feed-in tariffs we used to have those in Washington, but they're very expensive for the states to maintain because they use the taxpayer money, their subsidies basically. So it used to be where if you bought your modules and your inverters in Washington, then you would get like 50 cents per kilowatt hour that you made. So pretty lucrative if you bought those in Washington. Now, if you bought generic components, it would go down to like 15 cents a kilowatt hour or something, but you still were making quite a bit. And that, you got paid that even if you used the power. So that's not even just what you inject back to the grid. So Washington doesn't have that really anymore. So you will have to go in and take a look at that. But, so what I was going to say is, spoiler, Indiana still has that, which is why I chose Indiana. So the whole idea is you're going to have identical systems, and you will see how much of a difference those incentives make. Now, I'm not saying that that's good, bad, or otherwise. I'm just saying, if we're looking at financially for a homeowner, it's not so much the sun that makes a difference, it's how much you're getting paid for the power that makes a difference, right? Because people say, well, why do we install solar in Washington? Well, we used to install a lot in Washington because it had such good incentives. Now we don't, so now it's not as lucrative. Okay, so I gave you some information about that in the assignment. See, production tax credit, don't worry about that. Investment tax credit. Investment tax credit, that is, I'll talk about that in a second. But if you go down here, production-based incentives, PBI, that is the incentive based on how much you produce. Federal, there's nothing. State would be 0 if you're in Washington, or something if you're in Indiana, okay? So that's where you'd put it. So dollars per kilowatt hour, and then how many years it's good for. And you can actually click into this. Okay. And if it is something that decreases, you can actually put it decreasing year over year. Okay. So if we go back up here, tax credit here, there is a federal tax credit. Now, tax credit means that you, if you install your system for $30,000, okay, and there's like a 30% or a third, you get a third back from the federal government on your installed cost. That comes back to you in your taxes the following year. So it's almost like added to your tax return. So you'd get $10,000 back the following year. So they still offer that, but it's decreasing as well. So I think it was at 30%, and now it's going down to like 28 or 25%. I imagine it'll probably phase out as well. It's just getting expensive. So you'll have to look up what the current rate is, but this is where you would put that information. Electricity rates, I tell you what to do as far as how to get the correct electricity schedule. Schedule meaning how much they charge dollar per kilowatt based on time of day. So they have that in this library. Okay. And then after you put in everything, then you can go to simulate, which mine probably won't run very well. Oh, I guess I don't know what I even have in there. But what you need to look at, which is something I talk about, is net present value, NPV. NPV. You guys, you're taking ethics? Are you taking ethics right now?
Yes. Taking it.
Have taken it? Do you talk about net present value?
We talk about present value.
Okay, so net present value is it's a way to analyze different cash flows. So what you need to know is net present value, if you're comparing, you want to be able to compare different investments, but these investments have maybe different cash flows, like maintenance cash flows down the road, like you have to replace an inverter, or you have to replace you don't have a battery bank for this one, but a battery bank. So cash later is worth less than cash now. So it's hard to compare different investments that way. So they use net present value, which is a way to compare basically the goodness of an investment. So if the net present value, if that number is positive, that means that you'll be receiving cash back, meaning that it's a good investment. You're getting money from your investment. If it's a negative value, that means that you're investing more than what you'll be receiving. Okay, so really what you need to look at is when you're comparing your different scenarios. So let's say you have this one's Olympia, and then you run it again, and you have a different file that's for Indiana. What you want to look at is your net present value and which one is more positive. If it's a negative number, probably not a good investment. Yeah.
Is that compared to if you got the same electricity from the grid, or is it?
Good question. So for your Indiana one, I gave you the power company for Indiana. So their rate schedule versus.
Okay. So would this net present value be based on 0 or based on the money that you would have input for the power company?
So the net present value is based on, I'm not sure if I understand the question, but it's based on everything. So it's based on any money you receive, any cash flow in, and any cash flow out. So the one in Olympia, the cash flow in, you don't really have any cash flow in, honestly, you're not getting, except for the net metering of where you put in power into the grid and you're able to withdraw in the winter. So when you say it's based on 0, what are you referring to?
So if you're going off the grid, you'll get like negative $1,000 or something for the year, maybe probably more.
That you paid into the power
yes.
company. Okay.
So does this take that negative $1,000 into consideration?
Yes, it does. Yes. I didn't know exactly what you were asking, but yeah, that's what it takes into consideration as well.
So essentially, it's how much more you would make compared to if you took it off the grid.
Yeah, exactly. So if you think about a payback period, it takes into account all of the negative and positive cash flows. So negative meaning how much you're paying out, which would be the power company. Yeah. So that's how you would compare multiple situations. Okay, so you want to take a look at that, and that'll be what you base your recommendation on. Okay, and then the next thing that you'll do is, I'll give you a hint, Olympia's gonna be bad. Okay, it's not gonna be a good investment. So after you do the first design, I want you to take that design, modify it, and see if you could make it any better. Okay, and then run it again. See if you can make it competitive at all by changing the design, and see if you can make it competitive with Indiana. Okay, so that's what you're supposed to do. So, grid tie, that's you. Off grid. Switching gears. Okay, off grid people. Off grid people. Oops. First thing you need to do. First thing you need to do is you have to do an energy audit, meaning you need to fill out that Excel sheet with the different appliances. Okay, and you have to figure out how big of a battery bank you need. So one.
The one that looks like this.
The one that looks like that.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Since the appliances are added to the initial money that we have, so we have to put the ones that we give us the price of the ones that we give us the box and all that stuff. We have to look for them.
The price for the appliances? You don't have to include the price of the appliances in your budget.
Oh, it's that.
Hmm?
It says in here like that it's included, so we don't include it.
Mm-mm. Don't include the price of the appliances in your budget. No.
Assume that you already have everything.
Yeah.
The price to power.
Right, exactly. Fill out your energy audit. That's going to tell you size of your battery bank. Okay. Then what you need to do is you need to take that. You need to then go to, I guess you could choose what kind of panel you want to put in. So you can choose your panel. So choose a panel. Choose solar panel. Okay. Then you can go to PV watts. And you need to fill in, we're going to do what we did, I think it was last week, where you're going to choose a 4 kilowatt array. Okay, and then you need to have, so what you're doing is you're going to need to do this twice because you have a roof mount and you have a ground mount. Okay, so you have to do it twice. You're going to have a roof mount. So you choose roof mount and PV watts or ground mount if that's the one you're doing. So roof or ground. Okay.
So we only need the actual report bid, we only need to talk about one of them then?
No, you need to do both of them. I'm just saying, whichever one you're doing this process, or do that. You're going to do it for both of them, but I'm just saying, when you're filling PV watts, you're going to choose roof if you're doing roof, you're going to choose ground if you're doing your ground one, but you're going to need to do them both eventually. Okay, so then you need to, your roof is facing south and your ground array is going to face south, so 180 degrees azimuth. And then your efficiency, loss, sorry, loss should be 0. And then in advanced parameters, should be 99.5%. Okay, and then
Reliability.
I don't think you have to do anything with that, but you do need your tilt. So the tilt for your ground mount, you need to optimize your tilt in this situation for the darkest month, for the ground mount. Now, if you're doing this when you do your roof mount, you're stuck with the roof pitch you have. Okay, so figure out the roof pitch and put that as your tilt. So there's a difference there. Okay. So then you're gonna go to the hourly data and you're gonna download that. Okay, download that, and then you're gonna get out that consolidation spreadsheet that I posted. You're gonna open that up, and you will take all of the numbers from your downloaded hourly data and you will paste them into the consolidation spreadsheet. So, 4. Okay. And then from the consolidation spreadsheet, you're going to copy the column that is the lowest, darkest month. From consolidation spreadsheet, copy darkest month. You copy that and then you paste it into the off-grid sizing tool in that column. Remember that's
Right?
That's
That's the other spreadsheet.
it's the other spreadsheet. It's the off-grid sizing spreadsheet. Paste into off-grid sizing spreadsheet. Okay, then you're going to need to input in that spreadsheet. Remember, you need the size of your battery bank, the voltage of your bank, which should be 48 volts. Then you also have to put in your watt hours per day usage, which is from your energy audit spreadsheet. Then you need to put in your shading. The shading is from the picture. You have 2 pictures. One of them is for one location on the roof. One of them is for the field location on the ground. Those are your Solar Pathfinder photos for shading. And you need to read the line for the darkest month. Okay, so that'd be December or January in the Solar Pathfinder photo. That information all goes into this off-grid sizing spreadsheet, and what you will be changing on that is the size of your array, the watts. Okay, the watts size of the array, that's going to tell you how many panels. Okay, so let's pull this up really quick. This guy. So you need battery bank size, voltage of your bank, daily use watt hours from your energy audit, and then your shaded, or this is unshaded, okay, how much is unshaded. This number right here, array size, that's what you'll be changing. You change that in order to limit your generator charging to only 3 times a month. So every time you have to input a number here, that is the generator turning on. The customers say they only want the generator to turn on 3 times a month. Okay? So then do that, and then we will continue on Wednesday because that's plenty of information for you to handle right now. Okay? We'll continue. Make sure you watch that financial video. Yeah.
So for when you're trying to find the appliances, you're just assuming they're already bought, but you still need to go in and like find the hourly or kilowatt hours per year, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then for the MISC section, it says that it's a 35 watt continuous. So you just do 24 hours a day, 35 watts on?
Yep.
Cool.
Good questions. Yeah.
You have site A and site B shading.
Yes.
So I'm assuming site A is the ground and site B is the roof, but
It says in the beginning. It says in the beginning of the assignment at the top. So ground, solar pathfinder location.
the only reason I was mentioning it is because site A looks like it's on the ground, and site B looks like it's up high,
Well,
because you can see a building in site.
let me see it.
So,
I don't think I've taken pictures.
so this is a building,
Yeah.
and this is site A, which says it's on a roof.
And just pretend like, it's not a building, it's something else.
Okay.
Assume it's a slightly.
These are
larger-
I had to use these because these are the clearest photos I could find. So you can see. It's kind of hard to see the little numbers.
Oh, yes, I was just confused as
Yeah.
why this one was not
Yeah.
the roof. But okay, I'll just go with what it says.
Just go with me. Just go with me. Okay. So I'm gonna leave this here. I'm gonna stop because you guys have plenty to do and plenty to think about. So you can use the rest of the time however you want, or you can go. It doesn't matter. So okay. And then I will be here tomorrow, Tuesday at 5.
Yeah.
Password.
Password.
Oh, that's my name on it.
Oh, yeah. Please. Oh, actually, let me give something back to you. So, for classwork 4, I needed to, there was a little confusion because some people handed me like half of the assignment. And so I need all of the assignment. So I'm gonna, let's see. How do I want to do this? I'm gonna give these back to you. Make sure you did all of it and then hand them back to me next week. Okay?
So even if you've done all of it, hand it back to you next week.
Yeah. Or check it and give it to me now. Just check if you've done everything, because I don't know. There were lots of different people. You can give it to me now. It needs to be before next week.
Did you put a note on there for?
No, I didn't. I am. Just make sure you did all of it, and if you haven't done it, then turn it in to me next week. Meaning answer all the questions.
There was the ones that you said to be just skip the class. I'm assuming that.
She asked us to draw the circle. I can't.
Yours, but I don't think his name on it.
Mine are very slow, and I try to